Just make a very quick comment about this site. The River Angus, which is that row of red gum, it's about 300 metres over there, and this was cut off in a huge flood in 1941, and it just silted up. So this is all geologically very recent.
Beautiful deep dark soil. I can straight away see something very interesting in this pit. If you have a look on the vine row, the soil structure and colour compared to the mid row is massively different. Like, so you see the really pale, lighter soil out here, but all deep, dark, beautiful, rich soil in the actual vine row. So I see from that, Dave, you've been putting a lot more of your compost and whatnot on the vine row. Is that correct?
Yes, we did quite a few years of just putting out banding straight under.
Well, you can see something's happened very differently from in the actual vine strip to the mid row, like just by the colour alone. I mean, this is what you want to see for compost, like beautiful, dark, black chocolate soil. So we'll do our layers.
Again, this was cross-ripped down to a metre, and then vine rows ripped before plants. But you can still see a very clear silt horizon there.
So we won't take into account this top little bit because you've banded like all your mulch there. About 30, Barry.
Yep.
And then there's a little tiny strip we'll have a look at. 50.
Yep.
Then it changes again down here at about 90.
Yep.
And then down to 125. The roots are a bit deeper here. You've still got probably, the bulk of them probably to about 40 on this one. But then there is a few more, down to probably 50, 60. Haven't gone as wide here. They're happy here. Like they don't have to go searching. So this soil is really silty. Like you feel really fine silt in it, as floodplain type soil. But it won't ribbon. It's still, actually, it's pretty hard to wet up. Yeah.
What's the irrigation programming for here? If it's like hard to get the water to penetrate, is it similar? Like, do you do short?
These 8 rows. This is a trial spot. Last year we dropped down to 0.3 of a meg per hectare in here.
Yep.
And we got reasonable results. Fruit ripened up really quickly.
Yep.
Quality is really good. Probably like over another 14 rows. It's probably pretty much the same as everywhere else. We use PR2 probes for soil moisturing, and we just keep them probably around 20-25% of water capacity.
So at about 30 mil ribbons. So if we go have a look at a loam, bolus, coherent and spongy, smooth feel, no obvious sandiness, may feel somewhat greasy, as organic matter is usually present, or a sandy clay loam will form a ribbon to 25 to 40, strongly coherent, sandy to touch. It's not strongly coherent, like it falls to pieces, very silty. It's a bit of a funny one, I think, with the organic matter in it. It's changed the composition of it. So if I go back down a bit to a light sandy clay loam, bolus moderately coherent but sandy to touch, hand cranes visible, so it's not probably showing its true characteristic when you ribbon it out, so I would probably go for a light sandy clay loam here. That's where sometimes soil surveying, it's not just on the numbers, you've got to look at how it feels, how it looks, how it behaves. Well, it's definitely a real, I don't know what you want to call it, well, dark brown, chocolate brown, yep. She's changed a bit under that top and dry. Nice and moist in the top, 30, and then very dry underneath.
So are you just putting a layer to sort of shade the top, or you're putting down a big bank and leaving it there for 3 years?
This is when you put down this year, went to 50 mil from my soil test. A result just said put mulch out. I just want to see what it does with the water like under stressing the vines out a bit more.
So have you got a little mower then or something that you clean up under the vines, or?
We wish.
Oh, yeah. So otherwise, nothing generally to handle anything under the vine, right?
No. We can. There's organic herbicides we can use.
Oh yeah.
Like bioweed, weed zap, but we haven't got to that far.
I was just talking to David about that. He just slashes the weeds twice in the season.
About May, we put out compost. We spread probably up to 500-600 cubic metres over the whole place. This year
over what area are you spreading that?
20 hectares. This year we mixed gypsum up for the first time. We put out a tonne in with the compost. The other years we've been just pretty much banding that out separately. We just sort of might reduce a bit of the tractor time. Then we come through with a rotary tiller. We put down different cereals and legume crop every single year for the last few years. After that, if the cover crop was big enough and we had a right sized roller, we'd roll the cover crop down. But we've only done that once. Pretty much we just run the mower through 2 or 3 times, just drop the grass back underneath.
So you throw it under the rock?
We've actually just dropped it straight down where it is.
So then you just let it die off naturally over summer? Yep. Good. Now you notice with that layer, when I first got it out it was hard as concrete, but now I've got a bit of water on it. It's just softened right up, very silty. So it's just it's a very hard soil when it's dry.
That come from the way it's been deposited? Like?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you feel it's very a lot of silt in it. Obviously, from the deposit from the floodplain.
Which horizon was this? I didn't see where you're taken from.
This was the second layer.
Yeah.
Yep. But it is a bit more spongy. We're getting a longer ribbon now. Again, it was pretty hard to wet up. 60, good average. So I've gone out, so it's got a bit more clay in it, but it's still very silty, a silty clay. What do we got? A sandy clay or a light clay at 50 to 75 mils. Plastic bowler, slight resistance to shearing. Can see, feel, hear sand grains. Can do that. Light clay, smooth to touch. Well, it's not a light clay. It sort of has the characteristics of a sandy clay, but it's no resistance to shearing. Very soft, silty. It's not a clay loam because that's a strong, coherent bolus. I reckon I'd take that back a couple textures to a sandy clay loam, even though I've got a longer ribbon. No, but it's not strongly coherent either. It's a bit. No, I think it's all the silt in it. The silt in it's making it really behave differently. Like when you look at it in its raw form, you'd definitely say it was a light sandy clay or a light clay, but because it's hard and it is clay, as soon as you wet it up, it's just really light and silty. So it is a difficult one. So I think the best you can call it is a sandy clay. So even though it is soft, it's still ribboning out. It has got clay in it, but it's just a silt clay, not a clay. Yeah.
So just say silt instead of sand.
Yeah, true. Silty clay. And I mean, we only use this list of about 15 soil textures. If you looked at from a scientific point of view, the soil texture sheet has about 50 textures. So I would find one in between that would do it. But for general purposes, we don't go to that detail. It's lighter.
Lighter chalk brown.
Yeah, it's still a dark brown, but it's lighter than the. Now it's gone up again into a real chocolate brown again. It's lightened up. It's not as hard. That next layer down. That in between layer is really solid. Now this is very it's a much solider clay now underneath. Still silty, but a lot more dense. It will form a rod. Got lots of lumps in it, that's why it's so hard to manipulate. I can feel trying to ribbon that out. It's, as I was saying before, you'll feel the denseness of the clay. So that's going right out. So straight away without looking, I know that's a medium clay. Now we'll just check this one right down because there is a colour change.
So is that classified as dry?
No, it's not. It's wet. It's actually wet, but it's... you could make bloody ashtrays out of this.
That's real.
This layer at the bottom is like bloody concrete. So solid a clay. So that would be the deposits from years and years from the river. It's all the clays have set underneath. This is serious Cunambidgel clay. How's
What's that word?
Cunambidgel.
How do you spell that?
Sorry,
I don't
Noel.
know.
You think you're going to miss?
That's a heavy clay. Can't get any heavier than that.